Hello, I'm your host, Jean-Paul Baran, President of Focus on the Family Canada. Welcome to The Thriving Family, a Focus on the Family Canada podcast. This is the space where family, faith, and culture intersect. You can enjoy the Thriving Family podcast ad-free without any interruptions, thanks to generous donors who support our ministry. In this season of the podcast, we're talking about God's full life for you. Along with sound bites on marriage, parenting, and life challenges, we're bringing intimate conversations with leaders from a wide range of ministry backgrounds and life experiences, who have all generously taken the time to share their heart with you. If you like what you hear, be sure to rate the episode wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember to check out each episode notes for related resources and for how to support the Thriving Family podcast. Today I am thrilled to introduce Mike and Kim Anderson. Mike and Kim jumped into a blended family life back in 2001 after dating for a short time. They knew roadblocks would pop up along the journey, but they didn't anticipate how challenging it would be. They began supporting blended family couples shortly after their wedding and have had the privilege of supporting hundreds of couples for more than 2 decades. Mike and Kim are trained by Ron Deal, one of the most widely read and viewed experts on blended families. Through their podcast, Blended Family Breakthrough, and their work as life coaches, they empower and equip blended families on both sides of the border. Today's conversation is facilitated by Len DenBraber, our Chief Operating Officer at Focus on the Family Canada. Let's dive in.
Well, Mike and Kim, we're so pleased to have you on the podcast today.
Thanks for having us, Len.
Yeah, so we're excited to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, this is actually the first time that you and I have had the opportunity to meet.
Mm-hmm. It is. Mm-hmm.
And so this feels like it's going to be very much a get-to-know-you conversation. And I have a feeling for our listeners, they'll experience that as well.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so why don't we start at the beginning? Tell us a little bit about yourselves.
Oh, gosh, at the beginning. Well, it was January 16th, 1975. I'm just kidding.
That's his birthday.
It is.
Take note.
I was born into a blended family, and that is part of where my passion for blended families comes from. My mom had a couple of kids in the 60s. Their dad left. My dad came along. They had me. And then when I was 13 months old, my mom passed away.
Oh, wow.
So we lived with my grandparents for quite a while. And then my dad remarried when I was around 7. And my stepmom came in. She had some family history challenges. Yeah. She also brought a couple of kids of her own. And she had a bit of an anger problem, and that tended to leak out on all of our family. And because of some of the chaos that ensued, like all of us left early. I left home at 16 years old.
Wow.
Been on my own ever since.
Wow.
So I've experienced some really traumatic blended family experiences from a child's perspective. And then we'll fast forward here in a little bit to when Kim and I got married, but Kim's upbringing was very different.
Okay. Yeah, tell us about that, Kim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my parents were married for over 50 years until my dad passed away in 2020. And there was no divorce in my family up until that point. And so I was pretty naive. And I had come through a very painful divorce and had a 5-year-old child when I met Mike.
Okay.
And I kind of thought, well, this is going to be like, sort of like the Brady Bunch, right? You just kind of recreate a first family and off you go.
Yeah, we watched it every week on TV growing up. Yeah.
I had the rose-colored glasses on. This should be really simple and easy. And in the beginning, my daughter Annika loved Mike. I mean, there was no pushback.
Now, how old was she when you got married?
She was 5, yeah.
She was 5, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so she loved him. She loved spending time with him. There was nothing negative, no resistance at all. So that, of course, built that story in my head that, well, this is going to be easy.
Right. So, Mike, did you come into the relationship with kids as well?
No children, no.
Okay.
I had one significant relationship prior to Kim, and but nope, didn't bring any kids in. And honestly, I fell in love with Kim. I fell in love with her daughter, Annika. I was so excited for us to walk down the aisle, and equally, I was terrified.
Right.
Because of what I grew up in. There's a few of our wedding pictures. Kim still asks, she's like, were you happy on our wedding day? And I'm just got this real straight face like, oh my gosh, what are we doing?
Yeah. And so, again, for the sake of our listeners, how many years ago was that wedding day?
2001. So we've been married 24 years at the
Okay.
time of this recording.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Annika turns 30 in a few
Yes,
months. So
yeah, in a
that's
few
hard to
months.
believe. Yes.
Yeah.
And then after we got married, we had 2 children of our own.
Okay. So before we get to that story, I just want to back up a little bit because I'd be curious to know when you got married or as you met and began to foster your relationship, were you believers at this time? Were you following Jesus?
Oh, that's a good question.
That is a great question. I would say we were both fairly early in our journey of
Yes.
faith. Absolutely. I came out of my family of origin kind of mad at God because of the chaos that emerged in our home. We would go to church every Sunday and we would have the pastor over and all of that. But when the doors closed, things changed. And so leaving early in life, I can't say I ever didn't believe in the Lord, but I sure was mad at him and I didn't want anything to do with him for a very long time.
Right.
Till my early 20s.
Right. And how about you, Kim?
Whew, that's a loaded question. I was raised in a very legalistic faith community. And coming out of that, because I couldn't meet these high expectations and check all the boxes and do it all perfectly, and because there was not a lot of grace, there was no grace, I always felt that I was defective or there was something wrong with me or God could never love me. I'm not good enough. And so I went for a very long stretch of time believing that God did not approve of me, so why would I have anything to do with him? And that led me into addiction. I spent 18 years kind of numbing from pain through addiction. And then as I came out of addiction, because Jesus met me in a rehab, which is another amazing story. But he actually did fill me with hope and give me everything I needed to change my life completely around. That was probably how long?
2 to 3 years
2 to 3
before
years
we got married.
before we got married. So I was still a baby Christian at that point, for sure, in a real Christian, true Christian walk.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, so let me paint the picture here. So you're 2 to 3 years out of addiction. You've got a 5-year-old. Mike, you've come out of a very dysfunctional family of origin,
Yes.
both relatively new believers. Kim, you're coming into this with a little bit of rose-colored glasses,
Yes.
Pollyanna, like
For a lot of it. Yeah.
like, oh, this is going to be all sunshine and roses.
I did.
And it sounds like, Mike, you're coming in with some fear and trepidation based on, again, your family of origin. And so you get married.
Yep.
And I'm sure it was all smooth sailing from there on, right?
Yeah. Why are we here, Len?
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about maybe when it began to dawn on you that this blended family situation, although beautiful and wonderful, let's be clear about that, but brought some unique challenges. Tell us about when maybe that started to dawn or what that looked like.
Well, I think for me, it was dawning before we were walking down the aisle,
for sure.
like I said. And it just so happens, I know you guys here at Focus have partnered in the past with a gentleman named Ron Deal, who I would say is our world's leading expert on blended families at this point in time.
Okay.
But he came to our hometown in Bellingham, Washington, 25 years ago, 24 years ago, to a local church. And he did a conference.
The week before our wedding.
Yep.
So let the hearers know that you're almost Canadians.
Almost.
we are.
Very
Living in
close.
Bellingham,
Yes.
Very
Washington.
close.
You
Very
could
close.
walk to the border from our backyard.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So I caught wind that Ron was coming, and it was this blended family. I had no idea who Ron Deal was, but there was a 2-day weekend, literally the weekend before our wedding, and I told Kim we have got to go to this because again I'm nervous about where we're headed. So we did that, and it was such an incredible experience for both of us to begin the journey of, this isn't going to be that easy. For me, it was really affirming because while it didn't excuse a lot of what happened in my family of origin, it explained a lot, which ultimately was like the catalyst to leading to forgiveness toward my dad and my stepmom, which has created an amazing journey for me. But for Kim, it was a little different.
Oh, yes. I tell Ron now, we went to your workshop and you burst my bliss bubble. How could you? I mean, it was just eye-opening. I think my jaw was on the ground the whole time because I had no idea what we were walking into. And it was good that my bliss bubble was burst prior, because I had a lot of unrealistic expectations that needed to be changed.
So what were those expectations?
Oh, that this would be easy. That my daughter and Mike would just fall in love with each other and be, bonded just like, a real first family, child, father thing. That co-parenting with my ex was going to be smooth and easy, because at that point in time, it relatively was. Yeah.
Okay.
There were just all kinds of, when we walk into blended family life, we have an idea of what it's going to be like. For all of us, it's natural when we walk into, this new blended marriage and blended family life to have a vision of what this is going to be like. And I think the biggest expectation was that my parenting wouldn't need to change. That my relationship with my daughter and our parenting patterns and the way we did life, because I was a single mom for several years, that wouldn't need to change, that Mike would just kind of come in and enter into that and be a part of that. And that was definitely one of the biggest issues that we ran into early on was that.
Sure.
But I think for me, aside from this workshop that we went to that really opened my eyes, the night before our wedding, so I told you before that my daughter really loved Mike. It seemed like it was fine. She was excited about the wedding. But the night before the wedding, at our rehearsal, she pulled me aside with this panicked look on her face and said, "Mom, I don't want you to marry Mike."
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And where did that come from? Do you know, or was she just anxious? Or?
Thankfully, at the workshop, I had learned that kids have a lot of mixed emotions around this. And every single blended family, regardless of how you got there, comes from a place of grief and loss. And so we're all on a journey of managing grief and loss and figuring that out. And, she couldn't articulate when I asked, "Well, what's going on, honey?" She kind of came up with this really funny little excuse of, "Well, he talks too soft on our answering machine, so you shouldn't marry him."
That's right. You must be weak. That's soft talker.
Right.
But she was having mixed emotions and probably really trying to process, what does this mean in my relationship with Mom? What's ahead? What am I losing her? What's going to happen? Because blended families are born out of grief and loss, and they're born into ambiguity.
Okay. So I feel like there's a lot to unpack
there's
there.
A lot there.
I want to continue on the story thread, and then I'd like to circle back to some of those thoughts.
Sure.
So in terms of the story thread, so day of wedding comes. How was your daughter? Was she okay that day?
She was okay. She hung in there. She was a little tired. She'd stayed up late the night before with Grandma, and she was kind of out of it and tired.
Yeah.
But she was included in the ceremony, and she
Uh-huh.
took part, and she was fine. She did seem a little kind of like, apprehensive.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so then as time went on, Mike, were you able to foster that relationship with her that you had hoped, or were there some tough spots there too?
The answer to that is yes. Yeah,
Yes.
there's been many tough spots along the way, and I am so grateful for the relationship that she and I have today as she gets to turn 30 this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so were there more kids to come then?
Yes.
Okay, so tell us about that.
Yeah, when Annika was 7, we had our first mutual child, and then when she turned 9, we had our second.
Okay.
And so we have raised 2 mutual children along the way.
Okay.
And interestingly, in that age gap, we've had these different seasons of family life where we are dealing with all the realities of blended family life for a very long season and co-parenting with Kim's prior spouse and all of that. And then as Annika turns into an adult and launches out into adulthood, now it's like this first family experience. And it's like, whoa, this is different and interesting.
Yeah.
So we've had a number of different seasons of family life.
And so what was the relationship with the children with one another? Was it hard for your daughter to welcome these two new little bundles of joy into the household? Or was it a sort of a natural, I don't know, family connection?
Yeah, there were seasons. She was a little bit confused at first as to...
Can we back up? Can I answer that a little differently? Yeah, Len, I would say that she started very welcoming. She was pretty excited when we were getting ready to have our middle daughter, Phoebe, and she was very welcoming. And at the same time, there's been some challenging seasons along the way related to that. And I think one of the unique dynamics that Annika's grown up in is her father also had 3 children in that household. Around the same time we had 2 in our household.
Okay.
And now here she is, kind of the oldest of 6 siblings total for her. And she's the only one moving back and forth.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. So were you still in connection with her biological father, and was she still being parented?
Yeah.
Okay, so she was going back and forth between the families.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was always missing someone. You know, when she was at our place, she was missing her siblings over there and her dad. And when she was over there, she was missing us.
Yeah.
And so that was hard on her. It was hard on the kids, too, because our children would miss her when she was gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it creates a really unique dynamic.
And so with her going back and forth, did that sort of make her the odd one out as well? Like, did it create a little bit of tension that way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would say she struggles with understanding where she belongs.
Yeah.
Even though she's, you know, she knows she's loved and accepted in both homes, and we've both done our best to include her in everything. Just that dynamic of moving back and forth can give some kids this sense of, well, where do I belong?
Yeah.
And that can be challenging.
Yeah.
Yeah, acceptance and belonging can be 2 different things.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So moving forward now, so now you've got this family with 3 children, and then, of course, you know, as we've described, a unique extended family circumstance. Did that have any effects on the kids in terms of, you know, through their preteen years or teenage years, or even today? Would you identify anything where you would say, oh, that has shaped my children because of, you know, whatever experience? Love to hear a little bit about that.
Yes, we've definitely experienced that. So things with my co-parenting relationship were relatively smooth for quite a while. We did a really good job for the most part of putting Annika first and working together, all 4 adults. Then there was a shift when Annika turned 12, and we're still not quite sure what happened or why it happened or what was going on in that other home. But there was a sudden shift in the attitude towards us. And it was during that time that my former spouse, started pulling on Annika's loyalties and wanted her to spend more and more time in his home and pull her further and further from us. So essentially, she was put in this position of, if she wanted to be loved and accepted by Dad, she had to reject us.
Right.
And that kind of morphed into slandering, saying things about us that weren't true, just trying to draw her further and further away from us, physically and emotionally, and kind of driving a wedge between the 2 homes. And so that was very painful season. That was a really hard season on our marriage, because the result was we spent 3 years in the family courts.
Oh, boy.
To protect my parental rights.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm guessing, not having experience personally with a blended family, but I'm guessing that that's not an uncommon thing to happen in the context of blended families and the extended families that come from that. So how did you navigate that as a couple? How did you navigate that as a family?
Ooh, it was tough. I was struggling. Like I was losing my child, and it was so painful. And so I was in survival mode. It was really painful. And I think that definitely impacted our marriage. It impacted our other 2 children. And I spent a lot of time dealing with lawyers and counselors and writing declarations. It was almost a full-time job dealing with it. And ours was extreme. Most blended families don't experience to this extent, but ours was an extreme case that's known as parental alienation, when one parent keeps the child from the other parent. So it was very extreme and very painful. And what essentially happened was Mike and I were in agreement of we need to fight for your rights. We need to help Annika get through this. I mean, she was being psychologically and emotionally abused through this dynamic. And so we were all in on we need to do whatever we need to do to support her. And so it felt very noble. And it felt like the right thing to do, and the Lord was leading us to do this. But where we were not so intentional was investing in our couple relationship. That kind of got put on the back burner, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love how I mentioned Ron Deal earlier. He talks about the difference between familyness and coupleness. And we were united in our familyness. We, again, like Kim said, we spent so much time in prayer just asking about the next step, the next step, the next step. Do we keep going? Do we keep going? And continued to get green lights. Yes, go. But we were not doing a good job investing in our coupleness. And so while we felt united on this mission, so to speak, for 3 years, by the end of that 3 years, as we started to emerge, we kind of looked at each other through the lens of coupleness going, I don't know if I like you anymore.
There's not much there.
Yeah.
I think that's such an important distinction to make. As you're sharing that with me, I'm thinking about not just blended families, but any marriage relationship. You tend to be so focused on raising children or building your career or whatever it is, that in the midst of it, your family might be strong, but the relationship with your spouse may suffer as a result. And to keep both those things in mind is incredibly important.
There's a rhythm to that.
Right? Sure,
and we ignored the rhythm.
So how did you restore, what's the term, the coupleness?
Yes, coupleness.
Exactly. How did you restore the coupleness?
Well, it seems really simple, but one of the things I think we did well, especially emerging from that, was being committed to a weekly date night. And in fact, particularly when it was hard. Because we would start to approach date night and go, I don't think I want to go out with you.
It was dread.
I don't really want to do this. But we knew that we had an investment to make. And so we kept showing up. And sometimes it wasn't great. Sometimes we sat in silence. Sometimes we sat in tears. And over time, though, I think we started learning some new ways of kind of reconnecting and rekindling, even just silly things like, conversation starter books, things like that.
So you needed some tools.
We needed tools and strategies. There was a season where all we could talk about was the difficulty of family life. And we realized this just isn't helping us. This is not a great date night. And so one of my favorite strategies we put in place a long time ago is we would pull one of our phones out and we would set a timer and we would set it on and say, okay, it's okay for us to talk about these challenges for 30 minutes or 40 minutes. But now instead of one of us saying, can we stop talking about this? And then that feeds another argument. Now all of a sudden the timer becomes the bad guy, so to speak. And when the alarm goes off, we shift gears. We're going to talk about something else. And as we agreed on strategies like that helped us to refocus, then I'd say just kind of inch by inch, we just began to start to
make
reconnect.
those heart-to-heart connections instead of the busyness and the business of family life. We started to make those heart-to-heart connections and dreaming and having a vision for our future and things like that.
Yeah. Can I just change gears on you for just a second?
Sure.
Because I want to return back to some of the challenges of parenting in a blended family and just blended families in general. And what I want to ask is in terms of your church experience. So one of the things I've observed is sometimes the church can have a tough time with people who don't fit or families who don't fit in the tidy box of what you would hope would be the typical nuclear family, if we can even put it that way. And I'm not sure they exist anymore for the most part. But what was your church experience? Did you feel strongly supported by the church? Were there some challenges there as well?
Well, as soon as we went through Ron's workshop right before our wedding, we realized we need to start a support group at our church.
Okay.
And we need to learn and grow. We need to learn and grow alongside other blended couples. So we immediately got back from our honeymoon, ordered Ron's curriculum, and started meeting once a week at our church with other blended couples. And our church was very supportive of that. So we've always had really good support from our church. It also helps that our senior pastor is divorced and in a blended family.
Okay, now that is a pretty unique circumstance.
Yes.
It is. Yes. So he's supportive. We're in a very grace-filled church.
Yes.
That is, focused on Christ and focused on Scripture and really lives out grace.
Yeah.
We've also experienced other interactions with well-meaning believers who simply don't understand and have an idea that if we can simply apply a first family model to what's going on, then all your problems will be solved.
So I'd like to chase that down a little bit because I think for our listeners who may be parenting or married in a blended family, that might be a little bit more of the common experience.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so in your work with blended families, and particularly in their interaction with the church, faith community, even their pastor, what are some of the challenges that you've observed? And then secondly, how can we encourage the folks in the church or the church leadership to welcome, even program with blended families in mind?
Yeah, to support them better.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, one of the things, I used the term well-meaning a moment ago, and I think the heart behind the desire to help is really great. I think one message that I've heard over the years that has been really challenging is that, if our church supports blended families, does that mean we're condoning divorce?
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's a legitimate question to wrestle with. And at the same time, it's to me kind of like saying, well, gosh, if we, bring Celebrate Recovery in and do a 12-step group for people who are recovering from previous poor decisions, then does that mean we're supporting addiction? It's similar to the same question.
Right.
And it's not about condoning this really difficult decision that so many face. It's about saying, well, what are we doing today? Who are the players? And how can we create an environment that allows Jesus to transform hearts in the home?
Yes.
And that can happen in a blended family, just like it happens in first families every day. In fact, we've witnessed it over the last 24 years.
Right.
Yeah. So I think sometimes it's the question that we are wrestling with that maybe we need to back up and ask a different question.
So let's get back to your personal experience. What was the best surprise that you experienced when you blended your family? We've been kind of leaning on the challenge, but let's talk about the blessing side.
Well, one thing I mentioned earlier, you asked, what's your relationship with Annika today? For me as stepdad, I think if I just packed up the whole 24 years in a nifty little box and said, what's the best surprise? It is the depth of relationship that I have with my 30-year-old stepdaughter today. It's been a lot of work. We've had a lot of really difficult moments. But I don't know 24 years ago if we had backed up and said you would have the level of trust, connection, and just fun that you have with this young lady today. I think for me, that's been one of the biggest surprises, particularly because I came out of such a dysfunctional blended family of origin.
Right.
So I'm very blessed by that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Kim? Any surprises on the blessing side?
Well, there have been so many blessings. One of the biggest surprises, or I guess I should say, I'll say biggest instead of best, because this was a painful one as well. I was a typical post-divorce parent who tended to be a bit lenient or permissive in my parenting, which is very common. You're feeling a lot of guilt and fear of everything your child has been through. You want to make things easy for them. Don't want them to have to experience any more pain or struggle. And so a lot of times post-divorce parents can be very permissive. And they give a lot of power to their children. So what do you want for dinner? Where do you want to go this weekend? What do you want to watch? I mean, kids get used to calling a lot of the shots, a lot of the decisions.
Right.
Just primarily because I'm single now, and if I want my daughter to be happy, then I'm going to let her weigh in. Well, turns out that in my permissiveness, my daughter really did not have a lot of healthy boundaries. And I wasn't able to correct, I wasn't able to discipline or hold healthy limits and boundaries in place. I would just cave. Like she kind of knew how to work me, Yeah. Yeah. And I was too fearful and guilt-filled to do anything different. I was kind of paralyzed. So in comes Mike, and he starts noticing these things.
A childless stepdad at the point, by the way, but yet somehow thinking he was a parenting expert.
Yes.
As everybody without kids thinks they are.
Exactly.
So he comes in and starts pointing out some of this disrespectful behavior. And, hey, are you going to address this? And, hey, are you going to handle this? And, of course, to me, that sounds like, oh, you're a bad parent and your daughter is a brat. That's how I'm internalizing it, because who are you to tell me how to parent my kid?
Right.
And also, I don't want to make any changes because that's going to rock the boat and what's going to happen now. And so that was a struggle. And we now call that building your parenting partnership. And it's one of the most difficult skills for any blended couple to learn, is to build a partnership.
I can just pause you there because I'm making an assumption, and I feel like it might be true, but that in a blended family, there might be the tendency for one parent to advocate a little bit more for the child they brought into the relationship, and that at times must cause a little bit of stress or conflict.
Absolutely. You're right on.
Is my assumption correct?
Yes.
You're right on.
Yes. And there's a good reason for it that makes sense that we don't always see when we're coming in. So what Ron Deal, he calls it the reordered relationships of a step family or a blended family. So in a first family home, the husband and wife fall in love, they get married, they start off, and then they have children, right? And the children kind of get tacked on to the end of their bonded relationship. But their relationship is the strongest bond in the home. It's the foundation.
As God designed it.
Yes, as God designed it, of course. Yeah. But a blended family, those relationships are reordered. So it's the parent-child bond that has the longest history, that's bonded by blood, that they've been through all these things, they're tight, they've got their way of doing life together, these patterns that are set. Yeah. And then this new spouse comes on into the picture, and that bond is not as strong. That's a weaker bond in the home than the parent-child bond.
Right.
So absolutely, a biological parent is going to protect and defend their children, as I did when Mike started pointing out some of these behavioral issues that I was very reluctant.
And all of
to look
that,
at.
it creates this dynamic we call the stranded stranger trapped teammate.
The stranded stranger trapped teammate.
You've got it. So in the way Kim just described that, me coming in as the new spouse becomes a stranded stranger. Kim and Annika, they have this tight bond. They're connected. They've got all this history. They've been through some trauma of the divorce together, all of that. And I would say, honey, in your story, you also had emerged out of addiction during that season. And God brought some healing. And so there's been some major changes in this little 5-year-old's life from the time she was born, right? Some really significant things. So that creates a really tight bond. Well, I come in and I so want to be connected to both Kim and to Annika, but they've got this little biological bubble thing going that I cannot enter into. I can't experience the connection that I really want to experience. It leaves me feeling like I'm on the outside or I'm stranded. I'm like a stranger in my own home. Now, Kim is in the trapped teammate position because she's got this new spouse who she loves. She's got this daughter who she loves. And so many times, whether it has to do with discipline and correction or whether it has to do with simply deciding what we're going to have for dinner tonight, if Annika wants pizza and I want a burger, now Kim is a trapped teammate going, you know what? No matter what decision I make, I'm going to disappoint somebody. And I just want Annika and Mike to love each other. That's all. I want us all to get along.
I feel like the rope in a tug of war.
Yes.
So how do you reorder the relationships, or how do you get to the point where that's not the case?
Well, probably my first response.
Easy question.
Easy
question.
really, just do this and it'll be great.
I wish we had a simple answer
I
to
wish
that.
we did, Len, that's a great question. It's one that almost every couple that we work with asks, and it's one we've asked over and over and over throughout our marriage. The reality that we've discovered is we haven't met a blended family yet who doesn't experience this. And it's actually less about being a problem to solve and more about attention to be managed. We're going to experience it. We're going to live it. The question is, what are some of the strategies that we're going to put into place that are going to help us just mitigate the pain that comes with it? And primarily, Kim mentioned this a moment ago, how do we become strong parenting partners? And what we've learned over the years, and we've seen it work with lots of couples, is when we start getting centered on describing our family values, our household values, in a way that honors both spouses. So is our description of respect actually honoring to both my perspective and Kim's perspective? And then we start to build strategies around parenting toward those values that are shared genuinely between us. That can actually begin to mitigate the pain that comes with this stranded stranger trapped teammate dynamic. It's easier said than done.
And that brings me back to, that's the long route to the answer of my biggest surprise, is that Mike, our partnership has made me such a better parent. If I had continued on the trajectory I was on, and if Mike and I had never met and I had never had his input, his outsider input, which was very valuable because I had a lot of parental blinders around my daughter that I just chose not to look at. If I had continued on that trajectory, we would have been in a world of hurt. It was already very much out of control. And so his perspective, once we finally learned how to talk about it, which took a while to build our partnership and be able to talk about it without it, hurting my feelings or offending me, or without him feeling like he didn't have a say in anything. Once we finally were able to do that, and I was able to step up as the bio parent should lead the way with the discipline with their children. It was amazing how quickly things turned around. I mean, all of my fears were just unfounded. You know, I thought the world was going to come crumbling down if I held a boundary with my daughter. And it was like, wait a minute, she needs this. This is actually good for her.
Yeah, that's kind of good parenting 101.
Yes, exactly.
But I just want to key on something there, because what I heard you say is the bio parent is the one to lead in the creating the boundaries and the discipline. Can you just unpack that a little bit? Because again, this is all new information for me, but I think that might be an important key.
Well, we actually created the boundaries behind the scenes together, Mike and I. So the parents, the couple, they decide what are the values, what are the character traits, and what are the life skills we want to instill in our home with everyone. So both bringing kids, all the kids and the adults, what are we going to walk out together as a family? Then we communicate those expectations to the kids from a positive place. And this is something we help couples with all the time. And the bio parent does take the lead, this is what I want for you. These are things that you need to be successful. It's not, well, Mike wants you to be cleaner, or Mike wants you to be more respectful, because then that's kind of throwing him under the bus. And that's going to cause friction in their relationship. But I'm taking it on. I'm leading the way. Then when there's a violation in one of our values or one of our expectations, it's the bio parent who steps in to correct that. Well, the step parent is building trust and connection and genuine relationship with their stepchild. Over time, the step parent does earn some authority where they can start doing some correction. But right out of the gate, you want to be very careful around how you manage those things.
Yeah, if I could add a little bit to that. You know, a biological parent already starts with both positional and relational authority with a biological child. They have known nothing other than that since birth.
Yeah, just naturally.
But when a step parent comes in, you may have some positional authority according to what the world would tell you, but you have little to no relational authority.
Right.
And the more you lean into your positional authority, the more you actually hijack or erode your relational authority. Actual true authority is built through trust over time. And so if a step parent comes in hot, I'll whip this kid into shape, or I'm the father now, or I'm the man of the household now, so now I have the right to do this. That is interpreted very different to a 5-year-old heart. I have to come in and build relationship first to the point where the child actually wants to give authority over to me. I think about it like a coach or a teacher. Some of the best mentors and teachers that I've had in my life have asked me to do really hard things in life. And the ones who actually get me to say, sure, I'll try that, are the ones who've built a trusting relationship with me before they ever asked me to do that hard thing. It's the same thing with our kids. And you know, unfortunately, that was a big piece of what occurred in my family of origin. My dad just kind of abdicated to my stepmom. She wasn't sure how to handle all the pressure of all that. It created discomfort, created anger, and it led to abuse toward all of us kids, including her biological kids. It was just too much for her to handle. You know, and I get it now on the other side of, oh, okay. We were expecting that, or Dad anyway was expecting that positional authority to just be the thing. She's the woman of the house now. She should be able to handle the household stuff. And that just completely backfired.
It takes time.
It does.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. So if you were sitting across the table from a couple who were planning on getting married and they're bringing children into that marriage, what advice, I'm sure we could go on for an hour or so, but I mean, what sort of key bits of advice would you give that couple as they step into this new relationships?
Yeah, great question. I think the first thing I would say is don't do this alone.
Yes.
You might think that love is going to conquer all and save the day. And while absolutely you need a whole lot of love and a whole lot of grace in order to keep this going, you don't have to live in it alone.
Yeah.
You don't have to pretend you're becoming a first family. So find support and find help. That would be really one of my first pieces of advice.
Yeah, because there are some simple strategies and things you can do to ease the tension, such as the stranded stranger dynamic can be greatly impacted when a step-parent enters into a stepchild's world one-on-one, like Mike and Annika discovered video games was something they both enjoyed, not something I enjoy. So I'm going to tap out and allow them to have that connection, and that can ease Mike's stranded stranger pain point because now he's feeling connected, he's feeling included. So there are some really simple strategies you can do to ease a lot of the pain points, but if you don't know what you don't know and you're not willing to learn or grow or become supported in this journey, you're going to miss out. And that's really tragic because there's so much you can learn. I would say at the very, very least, read Ron Deal's book, Preparing to Blend, and do the growing activities at the end. Self-coach, read them together, work through those things. There's activities you can do together as a couple and with your children and learn what are my expectations. And wow, there's one I didn't think about. And talk through that at the very least.
Yeah. So it might be a little bit nuanced, but let me ask you, what about the couple who have been married a while, they have a blended family, maybe they're in a bit of a rough patch. And let's be honest, I mean, parenting kids is tough no matter what. I mean,
Absolutely.
There are just challenges that all of us experience and that we can talk about. But
so true.
But talk to that couple who have a blended family and who are in the midst of a challenging season with their children and maybe in their relationship as well. What would you say to them today?
Yeah, I mean, we meet with couples all the time that just feel stuck. Like they feel there are no options. We're just stuck here. And they eventually start to feel hopeless and helpless. And what I would say is you don't have to stay stuck. You really don't. There is hope. There are things you can try and things you can do. Sometimes it's just a mindset shift and an understanding of, oh, this is normal. And here's how we can ease that. There are things you can do. You do not have to stay stuck. Just hold on to hope and know that it is available.
Yeah. I think one of the things that can be really helpful, I know when we were at our worst, one of the catalysts to changing that was making a commitment to pray together.
Yeah.
There's something that happens when we begin to pray out loud alongside our spouse. We start to hear each other's heart a little bit differently, and that sometimes can kind of break loose some of that hardening that we have of our heart in those moments that are very challenging. And as we begin to soften that a little bit, that protection mode we go in toward our own children, and we kind of get these biological factions in the house, right? That we start to come back to how can we build some teamwork around that and really start to build more unity so that we can reorder those relationships once again.
Yeah.
So I think that's a real catalyst.
One other thing that I would add is to remember that when you're experiencing a pain point and you're going through a difficult season, remember that it's not the people in a blended family that are causing the problems. It seems like it, but that is not the case. It's the dynamics. These dynamics are so tricky and hard to understand. And if we can pull away from that thought that, oh, if that child would just change, or if that ex-spouse would cut that out, or if you would just stand up to them and do what's right, if we can kind of break out of these things that we think needs to happen with the people and look at what are the dynamics that are happening here? What are the loyalty binds? What are the pain points for the kids? What is my partner experiencing when they have to deal with their ex? And look at it through a lens of empathy more than I've got to fix this or you've got to fix this, because there are no easy fixes. But the more we can examine the dynamics and see it through a different lens, the less apt we are to attack and blame and stay stuck in those cycles of frustration and pain.
So you've mentioned one or two times that having somebody to walk with is really important. Tell us a little bit about your ministry, Blended Family Breakthrough.
Yeah.
Go ahead, honey.
Yeah, thanks for asking, Len. I appreciate that. So as Kim mentioned earlier, we began supporting blended family couples through our local church right after we got back from our honeymoon trip. We did that for about 15 years. And then in 2015, I personally felt a really strong call from God to come out of the career that I was previously in, initially become a life coach, which I did, and then turned to Kim very shortly after and said, honey, I think we need to be supporting couples. And so there's a whole long story behind that, but God has just orchestrated a way for us to do that professionally for the last decade. And we do that, through our podcast, but also we do that through personal coaching across Canada and the U.S. And we've been really blessed to be able to help hundreds of couples along the way. I think what I'm most excited about right now, we said earlier, don't do this alone. A couple of years ago, we decided to create a community model. And so couples can come and join our community for a very affordable rate. And we do multiple community meetings each month. Some couples come in as private coaching members as well. And so we meet with them each month. And we're not counselors, we're coaches, but we focus on tools and strategies and how can we really do marriage well, how can we do parenting well, and how can we do co-parenting well, so that we can really achieve what we call the desired destinations that we actually want to experience.
Where we want to get to.
Yeah. Thanks for asking about that.
That's amazing. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us today, just in terms of your learnings with co-parenting, blended families?
Just really rely on the Lord to carry you through. I don't know that we would have made it. We would not have made it. I mean, we were at one point on the verge of separating. Things were so tough for us and so painful. And we had to lean into the Lord and ask him to carry us through some really hard seasons and to strengthen us and to help us see each other through God's eyes, not through our own tainted lenses of pain and struggle and frustration, but through his eyes. That can really help grow empathy. But lean into the Lord and he will be there. He will hold you. He will comfort you. He will help you find that next step that you need to take to get unstuck and follow his lead.
Yeah, I would add, think about how you're responding to the difficult moments in your days, in your weeks, and in your months. And ask the Lord, what is it that you need to do to work on you as an individual? I know Kim just mentioned our most difficult season. There was a moment there where I think if either one of us had come home and said, I'm done, I can't do this, we probably would have separated. It was very, very painful. And there was something that God did in my heart a couple weeks into this season, or maybe a couple months, where no matter what Kim decides to do, I need to go get support. And so I entered into some counseling and some support. And I remember even telling you, honey, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to go get help. And she didn't for like 6 months. I went and just worked on me. And then as God started bringing healing to me as an individual, Kim started noticing differences in the way I was responding. And then that led her toward getting some support as well, and eventually both of us getting support. And so too often we enter into support seasons where, I can't wait to go get support because God's going to finally fix Kim, right? But it was so critical for me to say, no, Lord, I know that I'm reacting to these things in a poor way, and I want to learn how to respond in the way that you desire for me to respond, regardless of what the ex, the spouse, the kids, the stepkids, regardless of what they're doing, I can control me. And so I challenge any couple who's sitting there just feeling hopeless and wondering, can we ever get through this? I challenge each of them individually to say, what do I need to do in order to make that investment and make what I want to become a reality, and see what God does.
Yeah.
We each had our work to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's a great advice for all of us. Mike, Kim, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for sharing so openly and honestly with us. It's a rich conversation. And I hope that we'll be able to continue this conversation again, because I feel like there's more to be said.
We would love that. Thanks so
for
much,
joining
Len.
us.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
appreciate it.
It's been a blessing to be here.
I hope you enjoyed Len's conversation with Mike and Kim. Check out today's episode notes for how to connect with them. If you wish to talk about this further, or if it brought up something that you would like to talk through, you can have a free one-time consultation with one of our registered counselors at Focus on the Family Canada over the phone. Give us a call at 1-800-661-9800 to request a consult. It's our gift to you. Thanks for listening to today's episode of The Thriving Family, a podcast from Focus on the Family Canada. If you like this episode, please leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and be sure to subscribe. If you feel led, you can make a donation at focusonthefamily.ca/podcast giving, or find the link in the episode notes. This program is available ad-free because of the generosity of our donors. Most importantly, remember that we are here for you and your family.